When the CEO fell into a single dad's arms and couldn't let go, she was the woman Wall Street feared. He was a single father with $32 in his checking account and a 6-year-old daughter clinging to his leg. When her heel snapped on the wet pier and she tumbled straight into his arms, neither of them knew the cameras were already rolling. By Monday morning, the photo would be everywhere. By Friday, one of them would be ruined. And the man holding her, a stranger in a faded gray t-shirt, had no idea he'd just caught the most dangerous woman in the city. If you're watching this story until the end, hit that like button and drop the name of the city you're watching from in the comments. I want to see how far my story has traveled tonight. Stay with me. Because what happens next, nobody saw coming. The alarm went off at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before it was supposed to, and Adrian Cole was already awake. He'd been awake since 4:12. He knew because he'd looked at the cracked screen of his phone and done the math on how many hours of sleep he'd gotten. 3.5. And then done the other math. The math he tried not to do anymore, which was how many hours of sleep he'd actually gotten that week. He'd stopped counting at 19. He killed the alarm before it could wake Lily and lay there for another minute, listening to the apartment breathe around him, the radiator clanking, the upstairs neighbor's dog scratching at something, the hum of the refrigerator that had been making a weird noise for 2 weeks and that he kept telling himself he'd look at on Saturday. It was Saturday. He sat up, put his feet on the cold floor, and pressed the heels of his hands into his eyes until he saw colors. "Okay," he said, out loud, to nobody. "Okay." The bathroom light flickered when he flipped the switch. He'd replaced the bulb twice. He suspected it was the fixture. He suspected a lot of things in this apartment, and he'd gotten good at suspecting them quietly, because the alternative was calling the landlord, and the landlord was a man named Carl, who answered the phone like you'd personally killed his mother. Adrian brushed his teeth. The mirror gave him back a face he didn't entirely recognize anymore. 32, his license said. The skin under his eyes said 40. His jawline was still there, buried under a couple of days of stubble, and his shoulders were still broad from a lifetime of being the guy who carried things, the couch, the groceries, the kid, the responsibility. But there was a tiredness that had gotten into his bones, and no amount of coffee was dragging it out anymore. He spit, rinsed, and went to wake up his daughter. Lily slept the way only 6-year-olds slept, sprawled diagonally across the twin bed like she'd been dropped there from a helicopter. One arm flung over her face, the other clutching a stuffed rabbit named Mr. Biscuit, whose left ear had been restitched so many times it was now a different color than the right. Her hair was in her mouth. Her pajama top was on backwards. She looked, Adrian thought, and he thought this every single morning, and it never got old, like the single best thing he had ever done with his life. "Hey, Lily Bug," she didn't move. "Lily, beach day." One eye cracked open. Beach day. Beach day. She was vertical in 3 seconds. "I have to find my swimsuit," she announced at full volume and climbed over him to get out of bed. "Dad, Dad, Dad, I have to find my swimsuit. Where's my swimsuit?" "It's in the green drawer." "It's not in the green drawer." "It's in the green drawer, Lily." She was already rummaging. "Dad, it's not in the—" A pause. "It's in the green drawer." "Yeah," he said. "I know." He made her the good breakfast, which was the one where he cut the pancakes into uneven shapes and pretended each one was a different animal. The bear one had 2 blueberry eyes. The dolphin was really just a kidney bean. Lily accepted these interpretations with the solemn dignity of a museum curator. "What's this one?" she said, holding up a lump. "That's a manatee." "What's a manatee?" "It's like a sea cow." "Is a sea cow a real thing?" "Sea cow is a real thing. Manatee is a real thing." She chewed. "Is Mom a real thing?" Adrian at the sink went very still. It had been 4 years. 4 years, 2 months, and some number of days he had stopped counting because counting didn't do anything. Lily had been 2. She didn't have memories, not real ones, not the kind with faces and voices. What she had were photographs and the stories Adrian told her, and sometimes, increasingly lately, questions that came out of nowhere and hit like a dropped glass. He turned around. "Yeah, Bug, Mom was a real thing. But not anymore. Not in the way we can see her, but yeah, she's real. She loved you a lot." Lily considered this with a blueberry on her fork. "Okay," she said. And then, "Can I have more manatee?" He made her more manatee. The car had a check engine light that had been on for 6 months. Adrian had taken it to a guy named Vince, who'd put it up on a lift, shaken his head the way mechanics shake their heads when they're about to say a number, and said a number that was $1,700. Adrian had nodded, thanked him, and driven away with the check engine light still on. The car still ran. That was the important part. The car ran, and the beach was an hour away. And it was the first Saturday in 3 weeks he hadn't been called into work, and he had promised Lily the ocean. Dad, yeah. Are we going to see dolphins? Maybe. Are we going to see sea cows? Probably not sea cows. What if I'm the first person to see a sea cow at this beach? Then you'll be in the news, Bug. What if a sea cow talks to me? Then we'll have a long conversation about it in the car on the way home. She thought about that. Then, Dad, yeah. Can we get the ice cream that's in the cone that looks like a waffle? Yes? Even if it's before lunch. Even if it's before lunch. Dad. Yeah, Bug. I love you more than sea cows. He had to check his mirrors for a second to clear his eyes. I love you more than sea cows, too, he said. Okay. The beach, when they got there, was already half full. It was July. It was a Saturday. It was the kind of day where the sky was so blue it looked fake, and the water looked blue-green in some places and gray in others depending on the clouds, and the sand was already hot enough that Lily did a high-stepping dance from the towel to the water's edge, shrieking. Adrian sat up. The umbrella was cheap and had lost one of its ribs in a wind gust 2 summers ago, so it listed to the left like a drunk uncle. The cooler had a broken hinge that he'd fixed with duct tape. The towels were clean but faded. He spread them out, weighed the corners with flip-flops, and sat down. Lily was already in the surf up to her knees. Stay where I can see you, he called. I am. Don't go past the rope. I'm not. He lay back on his elbows, and for a moment, just a moment, he let himself have it. The sun, the wind, the sound of his kid being alive and happy 20 feet away from him, the way his chest, which had been tight for so long he'd forgotten it could feel any other way, loosened just slightly. He closed his eyes. It was, objectively, the best he'd felt in weeks. And it lasted about 4 minutes. Otip. He heard the voice before he saw her. I don't care what the board said, Marcus. I care what the contract says. Read it to me. Read it out loud. I don't care if you're in a restaurant. Go outside. The voice was low. Controlled. The kind of controlled that other people mistook for calm and that Adrian, who had worked in enough offices to know, recognized immediately as the opposite of calm. It was the voice of somebody who was furious and was choosing, as a tactical decision, not to sound furious. He opened his eyes. She was walking down the pier. The pier ran along the north edge of the beach, a long wooden thing that jutted out over the rocks and ended in a little viewing platform. She was maybe 50 yards from him, moving fast, a phone pressed to her ear. And she was, Adrian thought, extremely out of place. She was wearing a silk blouse. On a beach. A silk blouse the color of bone, tucked into trousers that had a crease so sharp you could open mail with it. Her hair was pulled back in a low knot. She was wearing sunglasses that probably cost more than his car. And she was wearing heels. Actual heels. On a wooden pier. In July. She was also, he noticed, one of the most striking women he had ever seen. Not pretty in the soft way. Pretty in the way that made you instinctively stand up a little straighter. Late 20s, maybe. Tall. Something imperial about her, even from 50 yards. He looked away. He had a 6-year-old in the water. He was not in the business of looking at women on piers. I don't want it smoothed over, Marcus. I want it gone. Tell him if he signs that memo, I will personally. Her heel caught. Adrian would replay the next 4 seconds for weeks. He saw it happen before she did. One of the boards of the pier, the old kind, warped from sun and salt, had a lip where the wood had swelled. The point of her heel went into the gap. Her foot kept going. Her ankle turned. And then her whole body, in a terrible slow diagonal, started going over the side of the pier. The pier wasn't high, maybe 5 feet above the sand where it met the beach. But she was at the end of the pier where it ran over the rocks, and the rocks were black and wet and serious. Hey, He was moving before the word was fully out. Later, he wouldn't remember crossing the sand. He'd remember the feeling of it, the hot grit, the sudden cold of the wet strip at the waterline, the jolt of his knee when he hit the pier steps, but not the crossing. What he'd remember was the woman's face as she came down, the one flash of it when her sunglasses came off in the fall, and the fact that she wasn't screaming. Somebody else would have screamed. She was making a sound in her throat that was much worse than a scream, because it was the sound of a person who had decided, in the half second she had, that she was going to try to manage this. He got under her. He didn't catch her cleanly. Nobody catches anybody cleanly. What he did was get one arm under her back and one arm under her knees, a half beat before she hit the rocks. And then his own legs gave out under the weight and the angle, and they both went down hard onto the wet sand at the edge of the rocks. Her elbow caught him across the mouth on the way down. He tasted blood immediately. Jesus, are you? Don't touch me. I'm not. Are you? Don't touch me. I can. Let go. He let go. She rolled off his chest and onto her hip in the sand and sat there, breathing hard, her hair coming down out of its knot, one earring gone, her blouse smeared dark where the wet sand had gotten it. Her phone was in the shallow water 2 feet away, screen down. For a second, neither of them said anything. She was looking at the water where the phone was. He was sitting up, touching his lip, looking at his hand, which had come away red. You're bleeding, she said finally. Yeah. That was my elbow. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's not okay. She was trying to stand up. One of her heels was still on. The other one was missing entirely. She got halfway up, put weight on her right foot, hissed, and sat back down. Don't stand on it. I need to stand on it. You really don't. She gave him a look. It was the first real look he'd gotten of her face, and it hit him exactly the way she'd hit him, which was harder than he'd been prepared for. Her eyes were gray, not blue-gray. Gray-gray, like the water on an overcast day. There was a scrape across her cheekbone where something had caught her. And she was looking at him, Adrian realized, the way somebody looks at a variable they weren't expecting in an equation. Who are you? She said. It wasn't a question. It was a demand for data. Adrian. Adrian. Cole. Adrian Cole. Adrian Cole, I need you to not touch my ankle. I wasn't going to. You were reaching for it. I was going to look at it. Are you a doctor? No. Then don't look at it. He put his hand down. Okay. She stared at him for another second. Then she laughed. It was one short, surprised laugh, and she seemed, Adrian thought, more surprised by it than he was. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry. My phone is in the ocean. Yeah. My phone is in the ocean, and my assistant is going to... She stopped. She closed her eyes. She took a breath. When she opened them again, the control was back. It was startling to watch. It was like watching somebody put a jacket on. I apologize. I just fell off a pier, and I believe I split your lip, and I'm sitting in wet sand in a $4,000 blouse. I'm not at my best. 4,000, Adrian said before he could stop himself. Don't. I wasn't going to. You were going to. I really wasn't. Everyone's going to. He almost smiled. His lip hurt. Dad? Lily. He turned fast, and she was already running up the sand toward him, her hair wet and her eyes huge, the way they got when she was about to either cry or yell at somebody. Dad, why are you bleeding? I'm fine, Bug. I'm fine. He caught her as she barreled into him. I'm okay, The lady fell off the pier and I helped her. Lily stopped. She turned slowly and looked at the lady. The lady looked back at Lily. Adrian watched this, and for reasons he would not be able to articulate later, his stomach did a small, complicated thing. You fell off the pier, Lily said. I did. Why? My shoe got stuck. Lily considered the shoe situation. She looked at the one heel still on the woman's foot. She looked at the missing one. She looked at the pier. She looked back at the woman. Those aren't beach shoes, Lily said. No. Those are work shoes. Yes. Why did you wear work shoes to the beach? That, the woman said, is an excellent question. I'm Lily. I'm Elena. Elena, are you going to be okay? Elena looked at her ankle. She looked at her ruined blouse. She looked at her phone in the water. She looked at Adrian's bleeding lip. And Adrian watched, fascinated, as something came across her face that he didn't think had been there a minute ago. Not quite a smile, but the ghost of one, the kind of expression somebody has when they've been surprised into honesty. I don't know, Lily, she said. I'll have to get back to you. It took 10 minutes to get her off the sand. He wouldn't let her walk on the ankle. She wouldn't let him carry her. Absolutely not. I don't know you. So the compromise was that he took one arm and she used him like a crutch, and Lily walked in front of them, holding Elena's one surviving heel like it was a religious artifact. They made it up the pier steps that way. Slowly. With Elena saying every fourth step, I can walk, and Adrian saying, you really can't, until she stopped saying it. His lip had stopped bleeding. It had split at the corner. He could feel it every time he talked. Where are you parked? He asked. I'm not. You're not. I took a car. You took an Uber to a beach. I took a car. She said it flatly, like he was the one being weird. I was supposed to be back in the city an hour ago. I got out to take the call because the driver was, do you have a first aid kit? In my car. Yeah. Okay. They made it to his car. It was, Adrian became suddenly and painfully aware, a 17-year-old Corolla with a cracked windshield and a booster seat in the back. He opened the passenger door for her because he didn't know what else to do. She looked at the seat. She looked at him. She didn't say anything. She sat down. He got the first aid kit. He got an ice pack. He cracked it and shook it and handed it to her. For your ankle. Thank you. There's a... Here. He handed her a cleanish towel. Thank you. Lily climbed into the back seat. She climbed into her booster because she had been trained, and from her booster she leaned forward between the two front seats to observe Elena at close range like a small scientist. Lily, Adrian said. What? Personal space. I'm giving her space. You're 4 inches from her ear. This is space. Elena, pressing the ice pack to her ankle, made a sound that might have been a laugh and might have been a gasp of pain. Adrian couldn't tell. I can call you another car, he said. My phone is in the ocean. Right, I'll call you one. Do you have an app or I have a driver. I need to call my assistant. Can I? She looked at his phone where it sat in the cup holder. A 3-year-old Android with a case he'd bought at a gas station. Yeah, of course. He handed it to her. He watched her, out of the corner of his eye, pick it up like it might come apart in her hands. She dialed from memory. 3 rings, then, Marcus, don't speak. Listen, I'm fine. I fell. No, listen. I am in... She paused. She looked at Adrian. Her eyebrows went up. The beach on... We're at the north lot, Adrian said, by the pier. The north lot by the pier, Elena said. Send a car. Also send... No, I don't need... Yes, I'm sure. Marcus, yes. 40 minutes is fine. Yes. Goodbye. She handed the phone back. Thank you. You're welcome. Your phone is... Yeah. It's It's fine. I wasn't going to... Yet. You were going to. She almost smiled again. Well, she said, now we're even. But they sat in the car for 40 minutes. It was the strangest 40 minutes of Adrian's life. He didn't know how to talk to her. He didn't know what to say. He was conscious, in a way he hadn't been conscious in a long time, of the booster seat in the back, and the fact that the air conditioning made a wheezing sound, and the fact that there was a goldfish cracker wedged into the crack of the passenger seat that she was pretending not to see. So he didn't try. He just sat. Lily, who had never sat quietly in a car in her life, broke first. Elena. Yes. What's your job? Elena paused. I run a company, she said carefully. What company? A finance company. What's finance? It's money. You run a money company. Sort of. That's weird. Lily, Adrian said. It is weird, Dad. That's a weird job. It is a weird job, Elena said, and this time she did smile, and it changed her face. Adrian looked at the steering wheel. It's a very weird job, Lily. You're right. My dad's job is he works at a building. Lily. He does. He works at a building, and he has a computer, and he comes home at 7, and sometimes he works on the computer after I go to bed, and sometimes he falls asleep on the computer, and one time I found him on the couch, and the computer was on his face. Lily. It's true. Elena had turned her head very slightly to look at him. He could feel it. He did not look back. Does he? Elena said. Yeah. I see. And he makes me dinner, and he braids my hair even though he's bad at it, and he reads me 2 books but sometimes 3, and he says Mom is real, but not in the way we can see her. Adrian's hands, on the steering wheel of a car that wasn't moving, tightened. The car was very quiet. Lily, he said softly, go get your water bottle out of your bag, please. Why? Because I said please. She climbed back to do it. Elena didn't say anything. She was looking out the windshield. The ice pack was on her ankle. The towel was balled in her lap. Her hair was a wreck. She had sand on her cheek. She was, he realized, with a small, sharp jolt, the most human she had probably looked in months, and she was not comfortable with it. I'm sorry, she said eventually, quietly, not looking at him. For what? For whatever it was that... She stopped. She's lovely. Yeah. How long? He knew what she was asking. He didn't make her say it. 4 years. I'm sorry. Thank you. That's not a thing people say and mean. I'm saying it and meaning it. He glanced at her then. Her profile. The scrape on her cheekbone. The way she was holding the ice pack like she'd forgotten she was holding it. I believe you, he said. She nodded, once. Neither of them said anything else until the black car pulled into the lot. The black car was a problem. The black car was the kind of black car that does not pull into public beach parking lots. It was an SUV the size of a small boat with tinted windows, and the driver was a man in a suit, and when he got out of the car he was wearing an earpiece. And Adrian watched all this with the dawning, sinking recognition of a man who is understanding, slowly, that he has misread the situation. He had thought she was rich. He was realizing she was something else. The driver crossed the lot at a walk that was almost but not quite a run. He opened the passenger door of the Corolla. He looked at Elena. He looked at Adrian. He looked at Lily in the back seat. He did not react. Ma'am, Marcus sent you. Yes, ma'am. I need the ankle looked at, but not at a hospital. Dr. Ayer is on her way to the house. Good. Ma'am, do you need... I'm fine, Graham, thank you. Give me 1 minute. Graham inclined his head and stepped back. He stood, at a respectful distance, with his hands folded, and Adrian had the distinct and deeply uncomfortable feeling that Graham was a person whose job sometimes involved not just driving. Elena turned in the passenger seat to face him. She held out her hand. Thank you, she said. Mr. Cole? He looked at her hand. He looked at her face. He took the hand. She had long fingers, cool from the ice pack. You're welcome. I owe you a lip. You owe me a phone, technically. I owe you a phone. A pause. Her hand was still in his. I owe you more than that. You don't... I do. She let go. She turned to the back seat. Lily. Yeah. It was very nice to meet you. You too. I hope the sea cow comes. Lily's face did a thing. It lit up. It was the look she gave people who had earned something from her that she did not give out lightly. Me too. Elena stepped out of the car with Graham's hand under her elbow. She didn't limp dramatically. She wouldn't have. She walked, in one heel, across the asphalt to the SUV, and Graham opened the door for her, and she got in without looking back. The SUV pulled away. Adrian sat in his Corolla, with his daughter in the booster seat and his split lip and his ruined Saturday, and watched it go until it turned out of the lot. Dad, yeah, Bug. Is Elena going to be our friend? He thought about that. He thought about the black SUV. He thought about the silk blouse and the voice on the phone and the way Graham had stood with his hands folded. He thought about the way she had said, "I'll have to get back to you," and the way her face had changed when she'd smiled. He thought about the fact that people like Elena Hart, and he did not, in that moment, know her last name, but he would learn it on Monday, and the knowing would ruin him for a week. Did not become friends with people like Adrian Cole. "No, Bug," he said, "I don't think so." "Why?" "Because her world is a different world than ours." "That's dumb." "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, it kind of is." He started the car. The check engine light came on. He put it in reverse. "Dad." "Yeah, your lip still looks bad." "I know." "Did you catch her good, though?" He pulled out of the lot. The ocean flashed in the rearview mirror, blue and enormous and indifferent. "Yeah, Bug," he said. "I caught her good." What Adrian did not know, as he drove his daughter home with a split lip and a goldfish cracker stuck to his seat, was that 80 yards from where Elena Hart had gone off the pier, a kid with a phone had been filming his girlfriend in a bikini. The kid had caught it, all of it, the fall, the catch, the sand. The woman in the silk blouse with her hair coming down. The kid who was 19 and worked weekends at a cell phone kiosk and did not know who Elena Hart was, would upload the video Saturday night at 9:42 p.m. under the caption, "Random Dude Saves Lady on Pier." By midnight, it would have 400,000 views. By Sunday morning, someone would have tagged her. By Monday morning, it would be on every financial news site in the country, because Elena Hart was 31 years old, and Elena Hart was the youngest CEO of a Fortune 200 firm in the country. And Elena Hart had been, for 6 months, the subject of a board-level investigation that her enemies had been trying very hard to make stick. And the photograph, the one pulled from the video, the one that would run above the fold of every financial section in the city, would show Elena Hart, hair down, blouse ruined, looking up into the face of a man in a gray t-shirt whose mouth was bleeding. The headline would be, "Who is he?" On Monday morning, at 8:47 a.m., Adrian would walk into the lobby of the building where he worked, a building owned, he had never particularly cared to think about, by a parent company called Hart Holdings. And the security guard, Ray, a man who had fist-bumped him every morning for 3 years, would look up from his desk and his face would change. "Adrian?" "Hey, Ray." "Man." "What?" "Have you seen your phone?" But that was Monday. Saturday night, Adrian Cole put his daughter to bed, read her 2 books and then 3, iced his lip with a bag of frozen peas, and fell asleep on the couch with his laptop open on his chest, the way he always did. The wind came off the ocean, miles away. It didn't take anything from him. Not yet. He woke up on the couch with the laptop screen on his face. It was 6:14 a.m. on Monday. The bag of peas, which had been a bag of peas on Saturday night and an ice pack for his lip, and then, briefly, on Sunday afternoon, a weapon in a game called Grocery Store that Lily had invented, was now a warm slack sack of mush in the sink, which Adrian discovered when he went to get water. He drank the water. He looked at the kitchen. There was a drawing on the fridge that hadn't been there Friday. Lily had done it Sunday, at the little table by the window with her tongue between her teeth, the way she did when she was concentrating. It showed 3 stick figures. The tallest one had a brown circle for hair and a red line where a mouth should be. The smallest one had pigtails and was holding something that might have been an ice cream cone or might have been a sword. The middle one was a woman in a long dress with what Lily had insisted defensively was not a crown but a very fancy headband. Her hair was down. There was a little squiggle next to her that Lily had labeled in her painstaking block letters, "C Cow." He had looked at it Sunday evening and said, "Bug, that's a really nice picture." And Lily had said, not looking up from the next one she was drawing, "It's us." He'd said, "I can see that." And she'd said, "When is she coming over?" And he'd said, very gently, "Bug, she's not." And Lily had kept drawing. He thought about that now, Monday morning at 6:14, standing in his kitchen with a mug of water in his hand. Then he went and got ready for work. It was going to be a normal Monday. He decided that in the shower. He had a 10 o'clock with the procurement guys about the vendor thing. He had a 12:30 with Rashida from compliance. He had an email from Dennis in finance that he hadn't answered yet, and that would become a crisis by lunch if he didn't answer it by 9. His lip, which had scabbed over Sunday morning, was doing the thing where it kept splitting when he talked. He practiced, in the mirror, a version of smiling that didn't pull on it. It looked like he had something stuck in his teeth. He gave up. He got dressed. He made Lily breakfast and dropped her at Mrs. Ibarra's on the way to the train, the way he did every weekday. And Mrs. Ibarra, who had been Lily's after-school and morning person for 2 years and who had a face like a map of South America and hands that had done everything a pair of hands can do, took one look at his lip and clicked her tongue. What? Nothing. You're going to say nothing. Yeah. Fine, Adrian. I walked into a door. Have a good day, Mrs. Ibarra. Have a good day, liar. Lily hugged him at the knees. Bye, Dad. Bye, Bug. Bye, door. Very funny. He got on the train at 7:52. He got off at 8:41. He walked the 3 blocks to the building, which was a 38-story glass tower with the words Heart Tower etched in sober letters above a revolving door. And the name had meant nothing to him for 3 years because names of buildings meant nothing to anybody except the people who owned them. On Saturday, it had still meant nothing. On Sunday, he had not looked at his phone. Adrian's phone was old, and Adrian did not use social media. And Adrian had spent Sunday taking Lily to the park, and to the library, and to the grocery store. And he had, at one point, watched a movie with her about a dragon that had problems. And he had, at another point, fallen asleep during the movie about the dragon that had problems. And he had not, at any point, opened the internet. Which was why, when Adrian Cole walked into the lobby of Heart Tower on Monday morning at 8:47 a.m., he did not know anything. And Ray did. Ray was at the security desk. Ray had worked the morning shift at Heart Tower for 11 years. Ray had a son at Rutgers and a daughter who was a dental hygienist and a bad back from a car accident that he would tell you about if you asked, and sometimes if you didn't. Ray fist bumped Adrian every morning. Ray's fist bump was famous. Ray had opinions about everything. Ray had never, in 3 years, failed to have something to say when Adrian came through the turnstile. This morning, Ray looked up. Ray's face did something Adrian didn't understand. Adrian. Hey, Ray. Adrian. Hey, Ray. What? Man? Ray. Have you seen your phone? Adrian stopped at the turnstile. He had his badge in his hand. He had not yet tapped it. My phone. Your phone, Adrian. Your phone. No. Why? Oh, boy. Ray. Ray looked at him for a long moment. Ray looked past him at the lobby, which was full of the usual Monday morning people. Suits going through turnstiles, a woman with a rolling bag, 2 guys from the law firm on 22 who always came in together, and Ray lowered his voice. Adrian, you know whose building this is. What? Whose building? Hart Tower. Ray, what are you? Hart. Elena Hart, chairman and CEO of Hart Holdings. You know who that is, right? Adrian's stomach did something. Ray, what's going on? Man! Ray shook his head. It was, Adrian realized, not a disapproving head shake. It was the head shake of a man who has watched the slow-motion replay of a car accident and has been asked by a stranger what happened. Man! Oh, man, your phone! Ray, please. Go upstairs, Ray said. Go upstairs, Adrian, go! He went upstairs. In the elevator, he pulled out his phone. 31 missed calls, 47 texts. He did not know he knew 47 people. The top text was from his sister Danny in Tucson. It said, Adrian, answer your phone. Below that, from his college roommate Kev, whom he had not spoken to in 2 years. Dude. Below that, from a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Cole, this is Jennifer Park from KTVJ News. I'd like to ask you about... Below that, from Dennis in Finance, Adrian, call me before you come in. Below that, from Rashida, hey, are you okay? Below that, from Danny again, why is your face on my phone? The elevator doors opened on 23. Adrian did not step out. He pressed 23 again. The doors closed. Someone had gotten in behind him. A woman from the accounting team. Adrian knew her by sight. Her name started with an M. And she was looking at him in the mirrored back wall of the elevator, the way you look at somebody at a funeral you've just recognized. The doors opened on 23 again. He stepped out. The open-plan floor of Gilbride and Finch Services, his employer, a mid-sized consulting firm that rented 4 floors of Hart Tower and handled logistics and procurement for clients in transportation and freight, was full of people standing up when they should have been sitting down. Heads came up from cubicles. Conversation stopped and then restarted a half note louder. Josie, the receptionist, the Chateau, who had been at her desk for as long as Adrian had worked there, and who operated on a precise and gentle and professional script with everybody who came through her doors, stood up when she saw him. Adrian. Josie. Adrian, Mr. Gilbride is asking for you. I have a 10 o'clock. Mr. Gilbride moved it. He wants to see you in his office. Now, Adrian. Okay. Adrian. Yeah. She reached across her desk. She took his wrist. Josie was 62 years old and did not touch people. She touched his wrist. It's going to be fine, she said. Okay? Josie, what is happening? She let go of his wrist. She looked at him with an expression he had only ever seen her use on the day her son had called to say something about a hospital. You're a good man, Adrian, she said. You're a good man and a good father, and whatever happens today, you remember that, all right? All right, Adrian said, because that was the only available answer. He walked across the floor to Mr. Gilbride's office. The walk took 3 years. Every pair of eyes in the office watched him. Not all at once. In little glances, peeks over monitors, the kind of look you give somebody when you've just been talking about them. Tim from IT, who had helped Adrian with a printer issue the previous week, and who had, in the course of fixing the printer, told Adrian about his divorce, Tim mouthed something at him across the room, and Adrian could not read lips, but the shape of Tim's mouth was the shape of holy shit. He knocked on the office door. Come. He went in. Mr. Gilbride was 54 years old and had been Adrian's boss for 3 years. And Mr. Gilbride was, in Adrian's private estimation, a decent man who was not a particularly good man. Decent and good were not the same thing. Mr. Gilbride would remember your wife's name. Mr. Gilbride would send a card when your kid was born. Mr. Gilbride would also, if push came to shove and his numbers were at risk, sign off on things that were not strictly speaking legal, and he would do it with the faintly pained expression of a man who considers himself the victim of having to sign off on them. This morning, Mr. Gilbride's face was gray. His laptop was open on the desk. His coffee was untouched. There was a printout face down next to the laptop. Adrian, sit. Good morning, sir. Sit. He sat. Mr. Gilbride took a long breath. He looked at the ceiling. He looked at Adrian. He looked at the printout. He flipped it over. It was a screenshot. It was a photograph of Adrian on a beach, in a gray t-shirt, with a woman in his arms. The woman's hair was coming down. The photograph had been blown up. Somebody had put Adrian's face in a red circle. At the top of the page, in 32-point font, was the headline, "Who is the man who caught Hart?" The photograph was from the Financial Examiner. "Oh," Adrian said softly. "Yeah," Mr. Gilbride said. "Yeah." "Oh." "I need you to tell me, Adrian, right now, in this office, with nobody else in the room. I need you to tell me exactly what happened Saturday." "A woman fell off a pier." "Adrian. She fell off a pier. Her heel got stuck. I caught her. That's the whole thing. That's it. That's it. She was on her phone. She tripped. She would have hit the rocks. I was close. I ran over. I caught her. I split my lip on her elbow. We sat in my car and waited for her driver. She left. Sir, that's Adrian. Sir. Do you know who that woman is?" Not until this morning. I didn't know her last name. She said her first name. She said Elena. I didn't. No, sir. Not until Ray downstairs just asked me if I knew whose building this was." Mr. Gilbride closed his eyes. He pressed the bridge of his nose with his thumb and forefinger. "Jesus Christ," he said. And then, sorry. "Sir?" "Adrian, look at me." Adrian looked at him. "Our biggest client, our second biggest now since Cotter pulled out in May, our biggest client is Meridian Freight. You know this." "Yes, sir." "Meridian Freight is a subsidiary of Hart Holdings. You probably did not know this." "No, sir." "Hart Holdings owns this building. They own Meridian. They own 12 other things that don't matter to you. Elena Hart is the CEO of Hart Holdings. Elena Hart is 31 years old. Elena Hart is, not to put too fine a point on it, the single most important person to the revenue of this firm. Are we on the same page?" "Yes, sir." "Elena Hart is also, Adrian, in the middle of a proxy fight. You don't know what that is. That's fine. All you need to know is that half her board wants her out. She is holding on by her fingernails, and every single person who has ever hated her is combing through every piece of footage of her that exists on Earth looking for ammunition. Do you understand? Adrian did not fully understand. He nodded anyway. The photograph of her, of the two of you, went up on Twitter at 9:42 p.m. Saturday. By Sunday morning, it was on every finance site and 3 of the morning shows. By Sunday night, some genius, he picked up the printout and shook it, had identified you. Your name, your employer, your LinkedIn, which, by the way, I looked at this morning, and Adrian, update it. It still says you're a junior analyst. You have not been a junior analyst in 4 years. Yes, sir. Adrian, yes, sir. Mr. Gilbride put the printout down. He leaned back. He looked at the ceiling again. The press wants to know if you're sleeping with her. What? That's the question, Adrian. That's the question everybody is asking right now, all over this country, on every financial news site. That is the question. They have a picture of the CEO of Hart Holdings in the arms of a man in a gray t-shirt, and the question is, who is he, and is he sleeping with her? Sir, I'm not asking you if you are. Sir, I said I'm not asking. I know you're not. I looked at the tape. You didn't know who she was. She didn't know who you were. You caught her. That's it. I believe you. That's not what we're dealing with here. Then what? What we're dealing with, Adrian, is that we have to release a statement. The firm does. Hart Holdings is going to release a statement. Her people are going to release a statement. Every party here is going to release a statement. And your statement, the one I need from you, is going to say that you are an employee of this firm. You have no personal relationship with Ms. Hart, and you acted as any person would have acted, and you have no further comment. Okay? And then, Adrian, I need you to not come in for a week. Adrian looked up. Sir, paid. Fully paid. Don't worry. I'm not. This is not disciplinary. This is, Adrian, you cannot walk through this lobby right now. There are cameras on the sidewalk. My assistant is taking calls from reporters every 40 seconds. Every employee on this floor has looked at your face for the last 2 days. You can't work. I can't have you try. Go home. Let this die down. 2 weeks. I'll call you. Okay? Okay? Adrian. Sir? Is there anything else you need to tell me? Adrian thought about Lily in the back seat. You fell off the pier. Those aren't beach shoes. Those are work shoes. He thought about Elena's voice on his phone. Marcus. Don't speak. Listen. He thought about Elena's hand, cool from the ice pack, in his. He thought about the drawing on the fridge. No, sir. Okay. Sir. What? Is she okay? Mr. Gilbride looked at him, and for the first time that morning, there was something on his face that wasn't calculation. There was something on his face that was closer to sympathy or closer to pity, which was related but not the same. She's in a war, Adrian, he said. She's been in a war for 18 months. She's in a bigger war now. Her ankle, I meant. Mr. Gilbride looked at him. Her ankle. Yes, sir. She hurt her ankle. I was just... Jesus, Adrian. Sorry. No, don't. He rubbed his face. I don't know how her ankle is. I don't know the woman. I know her people. Okay. Go home. Yes, sir. Back door. Security will take you out the loading bay. Yes, sir. Adrian. Sir. Mr. Gilbride looked at him for a long second. Thank you for not lying to me, he said. I appreciate that. I want you to know that. Yes, sir. Go. He went. Ray walked him out through the loading bay. Ray didn't say anything. At the service door, Ray turned and Ray clapped Adrian's shoulder. Not the fist bump, the shoulder, which was different. And Ray said very quietly, take care of that little girl, man. I will, Ray. Go out the alley. Turn right. Don't take the train. Take a cab. All right? All right, Ray. He went out the alley. He turned right. He didn't take the train. In the cab, he finally looked at his phone. The video had, by Monday morning at 9:16 a.m., 17 million views. He watched it in the back of the cab. It was shot from too far away, and the audio was the kid's girlfriend laughing and then screaming. What the video showed was a figure on a pier, and then the figure falling, and then another figure running very fast, faster than Adrian remembered running. And then the catch, which on film looked worse than it had felt. On film, It looked like Adrian had been hit by her. He had, in fact, been hit by her. The film had it right. His body had folded. They'd both gone down. And then, in the long, quiet moment that followed, a moment Adrian remembered as being over in a second, the film showed the woman sitting up, her hair down, looking at the man who had just caught her with an expression that, even from 60 yards away on a shaky iPhone, was not a small expression. He watched it 3 times. The third time he watched her face when she sat up and looked at him. He turned the phone off. He put it in his pocket. He looked out the window of the cab. "You okay, buddy?" the cabbie said. "Yeah." "You don't look okay." "I'm okay." "All right," the cabbie said. "I'm just saying, you don't look okay." He went home. He sat on the couch. He put his head in his hands. He stayed that way for a while. The phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't look at it. He got up. He went to the kitchen. He stood in front of the fridge. He looked at the drawing, the 3 stick figures, the woman with the headband that was not a crown, the sea cow. He took the drawing down. He looked at it up close. Lily's handwriting, sea cow. He put the drawing back on the fridge. He got Lily from Mrs. Ibarra's at 3 o'clock, which was early for a Monday, and Mrs. Ibarra, who had clearly seen the news by now, Mrs. Ibarra, whom Adrian had not told about any of it, handed Lily over at the door without comment. "Adrian?" "Mrs. Ibarra." "I made too much empanada this weekend." "You always—" "I made too much empanada this weekend, Adrian. Take it, for the girl." "Thank you. You are a good boy. You come talk to me if you need to talk." "Yes, Mrs. Ibarra. The world is crazy. The world is very crazy. But we eat empanada, yes?" "Yes, Mrs. Ibarra." "Go." He went. In the car, Lily said, "But, Dad, why is everybody at Mrs. Ibarra's talking about you?" "Are they?" "Mrs. Ibarra was talking to her sister on the phone, and she said your name." "What did she say?" "She said pobrecito." "Ah. What's pobrecito?" "It means, it's like poor thing." "Why did she call you poor thing?" "Bug, I had a weird day at work." "Did the door hit your face again?" Yeah, the door hit my face again." "That door is mean." "It sure is." "Dad." "Yeah, Bug." "Can Elena come over for dinner?" He almost ran the light. "Bug." "What?" "Where's that coming from?" "I was thinking about her at school." "You were?" "In the nap room. I don't nap anymore because I'm a big kid, but they make us do quiet time, and I was thinking about her. Lily, Elena is... She's a very busy person. She has a very big job. She's not our friend." "She's not our friend, Bug." "Then why do I keep thinking about her?" He had no answer to that. He drove. "I don't know, Bug. Maybe she's thinking about me." "Maybe." "Do you think she is?" "I don't know, Bug." "Dad?" "Yeah." "She liked me." "I know she did." "She said the sea cow thing." "I know. That was a real thing between me and her." "I know it was, Bug." So what? So we're friends." He took her home. He heated up Mrs. Ibarra's empanadas. He let her watch an extra episode of The Dragon Show because he couldn't, at that moment, summon the energy to enforce screen time. He gave her a bath and read her 3 books, which was the max. And at 8:17 p.m., Lily was asleep with her arm across Mr. Biscuit's chest, and Adrian sat on the couch in the half-dark of the living room and finally, slowly, turned his phone back on. 211 missed notifications. He deleted most of them without reading. The ones from reporters he blocked. The ones from his sister he saved to answer later. The one from Dennis in finance he answered. "I'm out for the week, boss's call, I'll catch up when I'm back." And then, at the very bottom, from a number he did not recognize, sent at 7:43 p.m. that evening, was a text that said, "Mr. Cole, this is Elena Hart. This is my personal line. When you have a moment, I would like to speak with you. No pressure as to when. E." He stared at it. He read it 4 times. He looked up at the ceiling of his apartment. The water stain, which he had been telling himself for 6 months was probably not getting bigger, had definitely gotten bigger. He looked back at the phone. He did not know how long he sat there. It felt like a long time. At some point, the apartment went from dusk to dark. At some point, the refrigerator made its bad sound. At some point, he realized he was hungry and had not eaten. He typed, "Hi." He deleted it. He typed, "Good evening, Ms. Hart." He deleted it. He typed, "I can talk now." He sent it, and then he sat and looked at the phone and hated himself for 3 minutes about the period at the end of the sentence, which now seemed curt, and then the 3 little dots appeared at the bottom of the screen, and the phone rang. He answered it on the first ring, and then panicked that he had answered it on the first ring. "Hello? Mr. Cole?" "Yes." "This is Elena Hart." "Yes, hi. Hello? Is now still a good time?" "Yes." "Are you alone?" "My daughter's asleep. I'm in the living room." "Okay." A pause. A long pause. He could hear her breathing. He could hear something else. A soft click, like a door closing, on her end. "Mr. Cole? Adrian?" "Yes?" "I owe you an apology." "You don't." "I do." "Ms. Hart." "Elena." "Elena. Elena, you don't. This wasn't your fault. You didn't put that kid on the beach with a phone. You didn't. I put myself on the pier in the wrong shoes. That's not in the wrong shoes, on the phone, in a silk blouse that is not a beach blouse, not paying attention to my surroundings. And then I fell on a man who was trying to have a Saturday with his daughter, and I split his lip, and I bled on his car, and now his name is on the internet. So yes, Mr. Cole, I owe you an apology. Adrian. Adrian, I owe you an apology. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't say that very often. I'd like you to know that. I figured that. She almost laughed. He heard it. How is your lip? It's scabbing. How is your job? He exhaled. It came out slower than he meant. I'm on leave. I know. Yeah, I figured you would know. Your firm is a vendor. My people told me before they told your people. I wanted you to know, actually, that I tried to stop that. The leave. I called your firm's managing partner this morning. I told him very clearly that you were not to be disciplined in any way for having caught a woman off a pier. He said it wasn't disciplinary. It isn't. Not officially. It's what it is. He wants this to die down. I don't blame him, if I'm honest. If it makes you feel better, Adrian, mine want me to disappear for a week too. Where are you? I'm in my apartment. Is your ankle? My ankle is fine. It was a sprain, a bad sprain. I'm on a cane. I hate the cane. I bet you do. She did laugh that time. Adrian? Yeah, I wanted to say this to you directly and not through an assistant. I wanted to tell you that there is not going to be any. I know. You don't know what I was going to say. You were going to say there's not going to be any story about us, and that I should ignore the press, and that your people are going to kill it. A pause. Yes, she said. Okay. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Another pause. He could hear on her end a glass being set down on something. He pictured her. He pictured, without meaning to, an apartment that was the opposite of his. A window with a view, a glass of wine, one lamp on, hair down. Adrian. Yeah. Can I ask you something? Sure. How is Lily? He closed his eyes. She's good. She's asleep. She ate empanadas and watched a dragon show. She's good. Does she know? She knows something happened. She knows people at her daycare were talking about me. She thinks a door hit my face. A door? It's a bit we have. I see. A beat. Adrian. Yeah. She's a remarkable child. Thank you. I haven't spent a lot of time around children. I know that probably sounds absurd. I'm 31 years old, but I haven't. I work. I don't really know children. I'm not one of those women who... She stopped. She seemed to catch herself. I was going to say something uncharitable about other women. I'm going to not say it. Okay? Lily was extraordinary. She was extraordinary because she decided you were interesting. It's not a guarantee. No? No, she's a tough audience. She's 6. She's already decided about most adults. What did she decide about me? He He thought about that. He thought about the drawing on the fridge. She drew a picture, he said, of you. A small surprised sound on the other end. She did? Yeah. What was I doing in the picture? Standing next to a sea cow. Elena Hart, chairman and CEO of a Fortune 200 firm, on a cane, in an apartment whose view Adrian could not see, laughed. It was the second time he had ever heard her laugh, and it was the first time he had heard it without the tight surprise of it, and it landed in his chest in a way he had not given it permission to land. Adrian. Yeah. I would like... She stopped. She started again. I don't want to make this weird. I am very aware that I could make this weird. I don't want to. Okay? I would like to, at some point, when this has died down, when you're back at work and the photos are off the internet and we can do it like two actual grown people, I would like to buy you and your daughter a meal to say thank you for the catching and the sand and the lip. He did not answer right away. He looked at the water stain on the ceiling. Elena. Yes. That's going to look like a story. I know. That's going to make it all start again. I know. That's going to give every person in your firm and mine something to talk about. I know. Why would you do that? Silence on her end. For a long moment, long enough that he thought she'd hung up, and then he heard her breathing, and then he heard her set the glass down again. Because she drew a picture, Elena Hart said, finally. Her voice was different, quieter. And I haven't had anybody draw a picture of me in a long time, Adrian. And because I fell off a pier in front of a stranger and he didn't let me hit the rocks. And because I have been, for a very long time, not the kind of person somebody draws a picture of. And it seems to me that it would be... She stopped. It would be a mistake to not have dinner with the people who... She stopped again. I'm making a hash of this. I'm sorry, I don't talk like this. I'm sorry. Elena. I'm going to let you go. Elena. I shouldn't have called this late. I'm sorry. Elena. Hey. What? Yes. Yes, what? Yes. Dinner. When this dies down, me and Lily will come. A pause. Yes? Yes. Really? Yes. Okay. Okay. Good night, Adrian. Good night, Elena. She hung up. He sat on the couch in the dark, phone in his hand. After a minute, he got up. He went to the kitchen. He stood in front of the fridge. He looked at the drawing again, the 3 stick figures, the woman with the not a crown. He touched the corner of the paper, the soft bend where Lily's hand had pressed too hard with the marker. He took a breath. He turned off the light. He went down the hall, past Lily's half-open door, past the bathroom with the flickering bulb, to his own room, and he lay down on top of the blanket in his work clothes, and he stared at the ceiling for a long time. And he did not sleep for a long time, and he did not know, lying there, that 3 miles across the city, in an apartment whose windows looked out over the park, Elena Hart was also not sleeping, also staring at her ceiling, also holding her phone on her chest with her thumb resting lightly, absently, on the screen, where a text thread with a new contact, one she had typed in herself, carefully, with 2 fingers, because she had not trusted her assistant with it, sat open, and the most recent message in the thread was a period and a single word, and the word was his. The week went by, and it didn't go by. It was the longest week of Adrian's life, and also, somehow, the shortest. Time did a thing where whole afternoons would collapse into a single chore, laundry, or the walk to the bodega, or sitting at the little table with Lily while she worked on her letters. And then an hour of lying on the couch at night would last until the sky turned gray outside the window. He didn't go near this building. He didn't look at his email. He kept his phone on silent, face down on the counter, and he picked it up, on average, 11 times a day to look at exactly one thread. The thread was short. On Tuesday, she had texted, "How is the lip?" He had written, "Healing, how is the ankle?" She had written, "Worse than I told you, I lied. It's a hairline fracture. Don't tell anyone. I don't want it in the press." He had written, "I'm not going to tell the press, Elena." She had written, "I know. That was a joke. I'm bad at jokes over text." He had written, "Me too." On Wednesday at 11:04 p.m., she had texted, "Are you up?" He had been up. He had been sitting on the couch in a t-shirt with his laptop open to a show he wasn't watching. Yes. I am trying to draft something and I am failing. Can I ask you a work question? It's not about your work. It's about mine. Sure. If you had to choose between two things, and one of them was right, and one of them was easier, and you knew, really knew, that the right one would cost you everything, would you still pick it? He had looked at his phone for a long time. Is it the kind of thing where you can live with yourself if you pick the easier one? No. Then you know what you're doing. Yes. Are you okay? No. Do you want to talk about it? Not over text. Call me. She had not called him. Not that night. He had watched the phone for a long time, and then he had gone to bed. On Thursday, she had texted at 6:47 a.m. I am sorry about last night. I was being dramatic. I am not a dramatic person, generally. He had written, you had a bad night. It's okay. She had written, how is Lily? He had written, she is trying to teach Mrs. Ibarra's cat to read. She had written, how is that going? He had written, for the cat or for Lily? She had written, both. He had written, the cat is unmoved. Lily is undeterred. She had written back an emoji, a single one, and Adrian had stared at that emoji for longer than he was proud of, because it was a small, dumb, human thing, and it did not go with any of the pictures he had of her in his head, and it went, he suspected, perfectly with the woman in the passenger seat of his Corolla with sand on her cheek. That was the thread. 6 short exchanges over 5 days. He read it, on average, 11 times a day. On Sunday night, a week after the catch, after Lily was asleep and the dragon show was off and the apartment had that specific quiet that his apartment only ever had between 10 p.m. and midnight. He got a different text. It was from Mr. Gilbride. Come in Monday. 9 a.m. My office. That was it. No context. No warmth. No, how are you? Adrian looked at the timestamp, 10:47 p.m. on a Sunday, and something in his chest turned over. He wrote back, yes, sir. He did not sleep much. Monday morning, he put on the better of his 2 suits. He'd bought it 3 years ago. It fit him in the shoulders, and it was starting to shine at the elbows, and he had meant for 18 months to get it taken in at the waist, which he had not done. He tied his tie twice because he got the length wrong the first time. He looked at himself in the bathroom mirror and saw a man who had not slept in a week, and who had, he realized, lost weight. He made Lily breakfast. He dropped her off. Mrs. Ibarra caught his arm at the door. Adrian. Good morning. You are walking in like a dead man. I feel like one. Don't. Mrs. Ibarra. Don't. Whatever it is today, Adrian, don't walk in like a dead man. Walk in like a man. He looked at her. Yes, Mrs. Ibarra. Go. He went. The building at 8:52 a.m. looked the same. Ray was at the desk. Ray saw him and stood up halfway and sat back down and did the fist bump across the counter without saying anything, which was new, and Adrian appreciated it in a way he could not have articulated. The 23rd floor at 8:55 did not look the same. The low conversational buzz of a Monday morning, the coffee chatter, the printer, the good weekend, and the you too was not there. People were at their desks, and people were not pretending not to look at him, and people were not pretending not to pretend not to look at him. Josie, at reception, looked up and her face did something complicated, and she said very softly, Go in, Adrian. He's waiting. He went in. Mr. Gilbride was not alone. There were 2 men in the office with him. One of them Adrian knew, Leland Finch, the other named Partner. The Finch of Gilbride and Finch Services, a man in his 60s with a head of white hair and the kind of mouth that did not smile unless an important client was smiling first. The other man Adrian did not know. He was 40-ish, thin, wearing a suit that fit the way Adrian's did not, and he had a leather folio on his lap that he was not opening. Adrian, sit. Adrian sat. Adrian, this is Peter Malik. He's outside counsel. He's here because we wanted a third party in the room. Okay? Adrian, I'm just going to tell you what this is. Okay. Okay. On Thursday of last week, Meridian Freight, through the Hart Holdings procurement office, issued a directive that reassigned the Meridian contract from this firm to a competitor of ours called Kensington Logistics. The reassignment is scheduled to take effect at the end of the quarter. Meridian was 31% of our revenue, Adrian. 31%. Adrian said nothing. The directive did not come with a reason. It did not have to. That's how these contracts work. But we have been asking. Leland and I have been asking. And what we have heard from 3 separate sources now is that the directive came down from the CEO's office, personally. Leland, across the room, was watching Adrian with no expression at all. Adrian, the CEO is Elena Hart. I know who the CEO is, sir. Yes. Yes, you do. Now, the official line from Hart Holdings is that the reassignment is a routine review decision. Fine. We are going to accept that publicly, but privately here in this room, the 3 of us, 4 of us, counting Peter, believe strongly that what is actually happening is retaliation, or possibly something worse. And Adrian? Sir. Adrian. Sir, I did not speak to her about my firm. I did not. Adrian, I know you didn't. Listen to me. Listen. He listened. 2 days after the photograph of you and Ms. Hart went public, a piece of information reached a reporter at the Examiner that did not come from Hart Holdings. It came, we believe, from a source internal to this firm. The information was, it was not about you. It was about a contract, Adrian. Specifically, it was about a 2021 memo that we signed off on regarding vendor billing on the Cawdor account. You don't know the details. The details don't matter. What matters is that somebody inside this firm gave a reporter a copy of a document that was, at the time it was signed, legally ambiguous, and that is now being characterized to Hart Holdings as, he gestured helplessly, as worse than it was. Peter Malik spoke for the first time. He had a light, precise voice. Mr. Cole, the short version. Somebody inside your firm appears to be trying to use the Hart photograph as a pretext to hand Hart Holdings a reason to cut ties with this firm. The bet seems to be that if Hart Holdings pulls the Meridian contract under the cover of a compliance concern, there's an opportunity for whoever is doing this to move the business to a competitor, Kensington, in exchange for something. A role, a stake, we don't know yet. Okay, Adrian said. The problem, Peter Malik said, is that the 2021 memo is real. It isn't as bad as it's being characterized, but it's not clean. And under the right light, it looks bad. Okay? Mr. Cole, your name is on it. Adrian went very still. My name. As a junior analyst on the account team, yes. Your signature appears on an internal distribution list. You were not a drafter. You were not a decision maker, but you were copied, and you signed, and you... I was 29 years old. Yes. I didn't draft anything. Nobody is saying you did. Then why is my name? Because, Mr. Gilbride said, and his voice was not gentle, somebody inside this firm appears to have decided that you, Adrian, are going to be the name on the memo that walks into the building. You have, as of this morning, a very public face. You have a relationship of some apparent kind with the CEO of Hart Holdings. And you are on the distribution list of a document that is going to land at the Examiner tomorrow morning, if it has not landed already, with language that suggests you were more involved than you were. Do you understand, Adrian? Adrian understood. He understood in the way a person understands when the room starts to rotate very slowly. Who? He said. We don't know yet. Sir. Adrian. Sir, respectfully. Who? Mr. Gilbride looked at Leland Finch. Leland Finch looked back. We think it's Paul, Leland said quietly. Paul Braddock was the head of the Meridian account. Paul Braddock was the person who had hired Adrian. Paul Braddock had given Adrian a cigar the week Lily was born and had, 3 years ago, gone to bat for Adrian with HR when Adrian had needed to drop to 4 days a week for 6 weeks, and had called him, Paul had, a straight shooter in front of the entire team, and Adrian had, for 3 years, thought that Paul Braddock was the reason this firm had been okay to him. Paul, Adrian said. Adrian? Paul. Adrian, we don't know for sure. We are in the process of establishing. Paul signed that memo with me. Yes, he did. Paul drafted that memo. It is our current belief, yes. And now I'm going to be the face of it. That, Peter Malik said very carefully, is what we are here to prevent. Adrian did not hear the next thing Mr. Gilbride said. He did not hear the next thing after that. He heard, inside his head, the sound of his own blood. He heard, after some indeterminate amount of time, Mr. Gilbride saying his name. Adrian, focus. I need you to focus. Yes. Peter has drafted a statement. We need you to sign it. It establishes, on the record, that you had no substantive involvement in the drafting or execution of the 2021 memo, that you were included on an administrative distribution, and that you have no personal relationship with Ms. Hart. If we get ahead of this, Adrian, before the examiner runs their piece, we have a chance of preserving the Meridian contract, preserving your career, He stopped. He corrected. Preserving a lot. Okay? Peter's going to walk you through it. Okay. Peter Malik opened the leather folio for the first time. He took out a piece of paper. He slid it across the desk. Adrian read it. He read it twice. He read it a third time. On the second read, his stomach had done a thing. On the third read, his stomach did a different thing. The statement contained in the middle paragraph a sentence that said, To be clear, I was not aware at the time of concerns raised internally by senior leadership regarding the billing methodology used in the Cotter matter, and I played no substantive role in the analysis supporting the methodology. Adrian looked up. Sir. Adrian. The senior leadership who raised concerns was Paul. Adrian. Paul raised concerns to me, actually, in August of 2021, in the conference room on 21. He said word for word. I remember it because he said it twice. He said, I don't love this kid, but it's a gray area, and gray is where we live. The room was very quiet. I remember it, Adrian said, because it was the first time anybody senior to me had said anything to me that made me feel like I was supposed to be a grown-up. He said it, and then he asked me to run the numbers one more time, which I did, because he asked me to. Adrian, if I signed this statement, sir, I'm saying I didn't know there were concerns. There were concerns, I knew about them. I raised some of them with Paul. He told me he'd handle it. He told me that was above my pay grade. He told me I was a good kid and that I was going to do fine here if I didn't go around chasing ghosts. Those were his words. Adrian, I was 29, sir. I signed the distribution because Paul told me to sign the distribution. Adrian, listen. I am listening, sir. Nobody is asking you to take the fall. Nobody. We are asking you to... The language of the statement is designed to... The language is a lie. The language is a legally careful statement of, the language is a lie, sir. It is saying, I didn't know. I knew. You are asking me to say, on paper, a thing that is not true. Adrian, if you do not sign this, the firm is going to lose Meridian, which is going to trigger a cascade. We are going to have to let 12 people go before Christmas. Do you understand what I am saying to you? 12 people. People you know. People with families. You want to talk about a lie, Adrian. I am talking about 12 families. Adrian looked at Mr. Gilbride. Mr. Gilbride was not a bad man. Adrian reminded himself of this. Mr. Gilbride was a man in a corner. Mr. Gilbride was a man who had, at this moment, one root out of the corner, and the root was Adrian's signature. Mr. Gilbride's hands were flat on the desk. They were shaking, very slightly. Sir, Adrian, with respect, with all respect in the world, if I sign a statement that says a thing that is not true, and the statement is the thing that keeps Meridian, and then in 6 months or a year the memo comes out anyway, and it is going to come out anyway, sir, these things always come out, then I have, personally, on paper, lied about my own firm's conduct, and you are no better off. And I am no job having, and I am no daughter having, because a man who lies on paper loses his daughter when it comes out. Adrian, I cannot sign it, sir. Adrian, I'm sorry. Leland Finch spoke. He had not spoken since the beginning. Mr. Cole, sir, do you understand that this is the end of your career at this firm? Yes, sir. Do you understand that we are not going to be able to protect you from what happens next? Yes, sir. Do you understand that Paul Braddock is going to say, on the record, that you drafted the methodology and that he is going to have documentary support for that claim, and that you are going to be walking into a hurricane? Yes, sir. Leland Finch looked at him for a long time. His mouth did something at the end that was not quite a smile and not quite anything else. Paul said you were a straight shooter, Mr. Cole. Yes, sir. I see he was telling the truth about one thing. Yes, sir. Go home, Mr. Cole. Yes, sir. We will be in touch. He stood up. He buttoned the suit jacket that did not fit at the waist. He looked at Peter Malik, who had not looked up from his folio. He looked at Mr. Gilbride, whose face, for a single flickering second, was the face of a man who wanted to say something else, and then wasn't. He left. He walked out of the office. He walked across the floor. He did not look at anybody. He did not stop at Josie's desk. He got in the elevator. He pressed L. He rode down by himself. He walked across the lobby. He did not look at Ray. Ray, at the desk, saw his face and did not say anything either. He pushed through the revolving door and onto the sidewalk. He stood there for a second in the wind. He did not know where to go. He started walking. He got 5 blocks before the phone in his pocket rang. He pulled it out. He looked at the screen. Elena. He almost did not answer. He answered. Hi. Adrian. Hi. Where are you? I'm walking. Where? I don't know. Downtown. I'm on 52nd, near the park. Stay there. I'm going to send a car. Elena. Adrian. Listen to me. I need you to stay there. I'm sending a car. Do you want to come here or do you want me to come to you? Elena. How do you... Leland Finch called me 20 minutes ago. What? Leland Finch called me 20 minutes ago, Adrian, and he told me what he and Gilbride were about to do to you. And he told me that he thought you were about to refuse to do it. And he told me that if you refused, you were going to get run over. And he asked me if there was anything I could do. Leland called you. Leland called me. Apparently Leland is not entirely the man his partner thinks he is. Adrian. The car. Where are you? I'm on 52nd and 8th. Stand on the corner. Don't move. The car is black. The plate ends in 773. Do not get into any other car, Adrian. Do you hear me? Yes. I will see you in 40 minutes. Okay? Adrian. Yeah. A pause. Did you refuse? Yes. Okay. Elena. I'll see you in 40 minutes, Adrian. The line went dead. 40 minutes later, he was in an apartment whose view he had been imagining for a week, and the view was not the point. The apartment was smaller than he'd pictured, and older. It was a pre-war on the park, with high ceilings and crown molding and the kind of furniture that was expensive but not showy. Everything low and soft, in tones of oatmeal and slate, and a dark blue-green that he would later learn was the color of her eyes in certain light. There were books everywhere, stacked on the floor by the couch, in a long row on the window ledge, on the coffee table, under a mug that had a chip in the rim. There was one lamp on. Elena was on the couch. She was in jeans and a gray t-shirt, his first time seeing her in anything that wasn't a uniform, and her hair was down for the second time in his life, and there was a cane leaning against the arm of the couch that she glared at briefly when she saw him look at it. Sit down, Adrian. He sat down. There was a glass of water on the coffee table that she had clearly poured for him before he'd arrived. Tell me, she said. He told her. He told her everything. The memo, Paul, the statement, the sentence in the middle paragraph, the 12 families, the last thing Leland had said to him. He told it in the flat voice of a man reporting a car accident, and he told it without stopping. And when he was done, he looked up and he realized he had been looking at his own hands the whole time. Elena was not looking at him. She was looking at the window. Adrian? Yeah. You understand what's about to happen to you. Yes. The Examiner will run the piece tomorrow morning. By tomorrow evening, every business site in the country will have your photograph next to the word fraud. Tomorrow night, 3 different shows will do a segment on you. By Wednesday, a reporter will be on your street. By Thursday, your daughter will ask you what the reporter is doing on the street. I know. Your firm will put out a statement. The statement will not be on your side. Gilbride will tell the press, carefully, with a lot of qualifiers, that you are the subject of an internal review. Paul Braddock will, within 48 hours, give an anonymous quote to a different reporter, and the quote will be, "He was a kid. We trusted him. We didn't realize he was operating outside his lane." I know. By Friday, Adrian, you will not have a career. I know. She looked at him. Why didn't you sign it? He did not answer right away. He thought about how to answer. Because my daughter knows I had a bad day at work last Monday. What? My daughter, Lily. She knows something bad happened to me last Monday. I told her a door hit my face. She believes me because she's 6. But she's going to be 7, and she's going to be 8, and she's going to be 25. And at some point she is going to find the internet, and she is going to type my name. And whatever she finds, when she types it, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what the world is going to say about me by then. But whatever it says, Elena, the one thing I know for sure is that I'm going to sit across from my daughter when she's 25, and she's going to ask me, not if it's true. She's going to ask me if I knew what I was signing. And the only thing I have in my whole life that I can give her, honestly, is that when somebody put a piece of paper in front of me that said something that wasn't true, I didn't sign it. He stopped. He looked at his hands. I don't have money, Elena. I don't have connections. I have a 6-year-old and a 2007 Corolla and a split lip that's finally healing and one answer that I can give her in 20 years. That's it. That's the whole list. I can't trade the answer. I can't trade it for Meridian. I can't trade it for my job. I can't. His voice did something. He stopped. He swallowed. I can't. The apartment was very quiet. Elena was looking at him. She was looking at him the way she had looked at him on the beach, the first time, when she had sat up in the sand with her hair down and her sunglasses gone. The same look. The one that said he was a variable she had not expected to find in the equation. Adrian? Yeah. Come here. What? Come here. Just here, next to me. He moved, slowly, from the chair to the other end of the couch. He was aware of his own weight on the cushion. He was aware of the smell of the apartment, lemon and soap, and something that might have been her hair. He was aware of the space between them, which was not very much. She set down her water glass. Adrian, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to tell you because you told me what you just told me, and because you told me that with nobody else in the room. Is that fair? Yeah. The proxy fight I'm in. You know I'm in a proxy fight. I know something. My board has been trying to push me out for 18 months. The reason they want to push me out, the official reason, is a performance concern in the second quarter of last year. The real reason is that I have refused for 4 years to sign off on a structure that lets 2 of my board members move a substantial amount of money through a subsidiary in a way that is not illegal, per se, but is, to borrow a phrase, a gray area. Okay. The board meeting is Friday. This Friday. 4 days. They have votes that I thought they didn't have. They have been flipping people for weeks. I came in this morning believing I was going to lose the vote. I'm going to get fired, Adrian, this Friday. It's been all but decided. Elena, wait, listen. Okay. The leak to the examiner about your memo, the thing that is about to come down on you, that is not, Adrian, a coincidence. Someone at your firm is talking to someone on my board. There is a version of the next 72 hours where your memo becomes the reason I get to renegotiate the Meridian contract, which becomes the reason I get to push a restructuring through before the Friday vote, which becomes the reason I survive. He stared at her. Wait. Yes. I'm telling you that if you had signed that statement, Adrian, the document my board would have ended up with, the document that would have arrived on their desks Thursday night, would have, in passing, contained your sentence. The one Gilbride wrote. The one about not knowing. And it would have been enough, Adrian. Combined with some other things. It would have been the thing that let me keep my job. I'm telling you that by not signing it, Adrian, you probably cost me the vote. He could not speak for a second. Elena. Yeah. I didn't know that. I know you didn't. I had no idea. I know, Adrian. Did Leland know? Leland knew some of it, probably not all of it. Elena, Adrian. Tell me what to do. Tell me what I can go back. I can call Gilbride. No. Elena, if I No, Adrian. No, you are not going to do that. Listen to me. Look at me. Look at me. He looked at her. If you go back and sign it, she said, I don't want you to keep the job. What? If you go back and sign it, if you trade the thing you just told me about your daughter for me, then the person I fought this whole war to remain is not the person I get to be on the other side of it. Do you hear me? Elena, I have been Adrian for 4 years, the person who does not sign the gray area thing. I have been beaten bloody for 4 years for being that person. I have given up, in 4 years, almost every friend I had at the start of those 4 years. I am sitting in an apartment with one lamp on a Monday morning, with a broken ankle, because I am that person. And if I let you sign a lie to save me, then I was never that person. I was just a person who had not yet met her price. Elena. So what? So we are going to lose on Friday, both of us, together, is what I am telling you. He looked at her. Her hair was down. There was a small scar on her cheekbone where the pier had caught her. She was, he realized, with a clarity that had the quality of looking up and seeing a thing that had been there the whole time, not a woman far above his world. She was a woman in a pre-war apartment with books on the floor who was about to lose a fight with people who were not half the person she was, and she had known, when she called him from 52nd Street, that she was going to say the thing she had just said. Okay, I said. Okay, Elena. Adrian. Yeah. I'm going to do one thing on Friday at the board meeting. What? I'm going to tell them, not in those words, obviously. I'm going to tell them that the way this leak came to me is how I know which of them is working with your firm's bad actor. I'm going to name the name. I'm going to show the documents. And then I'm going to stand up in front of a room of 16 people who have been trying to destroy me for a year and a half, and I'm going to tell them, publicly, on the record, that I refuse categorically, in a recorded board meeting, to benefit from a fraudulent framing of a man who caught me off a pier because my own shoes were wrong. He looked at her. Elena. Yeah. That's going to end your career. Yes. That's going to blow it up. You're going to lose the vote anyway, and now you're going to lose it with a reason. Yes. Elena. Adrian. Why? She looked at him. I think you know why. Tell me. She didn't. Not in words. She looked at him for a long moment, and then she looked down at her hands, and then she looked back up, and her eyes were wet. Not crying, but wet. In the way they get when a person is holding something and deciding right now not to keep holding it. Because you were in a gray t-shirt, Adrian. What? You were in a gray t-shirt, and you didn't know who I was, and you caught me. And on Saturday, when your daughter showed me your whole life in 30 seconds in the back seat of a Corolla, I sat there in a silk blouse covered in wet sand, and I realized that I had been running something called a life for 10 years, and what I had built was not... She stopped. What I had built was not a life. I built a fortress. I built a fortress, and I was the only one in it. And on Saturday, your daughter drew a picture of me standing next to a sea cow, Adrian, and I would tear the fortress down with my hands for that picture. He couldn't talk. So, she said. So Friday, I'm going to tell them what they are, and they are going to fire me for it. And on Saturday, I would very much like to eat an empanada with your daughter, if you still want that. He reached out slowly, and he took her hand. Her hand was cold. He held it. Yeah, he said. Yeah. Saturday. We still want that. Okay. They sat there on the couch in the apartment with the one lamp on for a long time, and neither of them said anything else. And outside the window, the park did whatever a park does on a Monday in July. And inside, in the quiet, two people who had, between them, spent their lives being the ones who held things up, sat on a couch, and for the first time in a long time for each of them, did not. On Friday, at 2:17 p.m. Eastern, in a boardroom on the 41st floor of a building across town, Elena Hart would stand up at her chair, lean her weight on her cane, and begin to speak. The sentence she started with would be, "Before we vote, I want to put something on the record." Everyone in the room would think she was asking for clemency. Everyone in the room would be wrong. She did not ask for clemency. She stood at her chair in a boardroom on the 41st floor of a building across town, with her weight on a cane she hated, and she said the sentence she had told Adrian she was going to say, and then she said the next 14 minutes of sentences, and none of them were the sentences the 16 people at the table had come prepared to hear. She named a name. It was the name of a board member named Harold Vester, who had been on the Hart Holdings board for 9 years, and who sat, at that moment, 4 chairs down from her with his hands folded and his face the color of something left out too long. She laid out the architecture, crisp, unhurried, the way she talked when she was at her most dangerous, of how Harold Vester had been in contact, for 6 weeks, with a partner at a mid-sized consulting firm named Paul Braddock, and how Harold Vester had helped engineer the release of a 4-year-old memo through a business reporter at the Examiner for the specific purpose of damaging a man named Adrian Cole, who had 2 Saturdays prior caught her off a pier. She put documents on the screen. She had Marcus bring them up one at a time. She did not raise her voice. She explained, with the patience of somebody explaining something to a child, what each document was, who had sent it, who had received it, and what it meant. And then, at the end, before the vote that she already knew she was going to lose, she said the part she had told Adrian about. For the record, she said, I am declining. I am declining as chairman in this recorded meeting in front of all of you to make any use, in my defense or otherwise, of the framing of Mr. Cole that Harold and Mr. Braddock have constructed. Mr. Cole is not a dishonest man. Mr. Cole refused on Monday of this week to sign a statement that would have saved his job, because the statement contained a sentence that was not true. I am not going to let the 2 of them take him down, because he did the thing I was too tired to do for myself for a long time. Togikeiki. She sat down. The room did not make a sound for 11 seconds. She counted. Then they voted. She lost by 2 votes. Not the margin she had expected. Leland Finch had clearly, quietly, been busy. But enough. She was out as CEO, effective immediately. Harold Vester was out of the board, effective immediately, with a written referral to outside counsel pending. The room was full of men looking at their water glasses. She walked out of this boardroom at 3:04 p.m. on her own feet, on her own cane, without looking at anyone. And she did not cry in the elevator, and she did not cry in the car, and she did not cry until she was back in her apartment with the one lamp on, and she sat down on the couch and she cried in the wordless, teeth-clenched way of a person who has been holding a thing for 11 years and has finally put it down. Her phone on the coffee table buzzed. She looked at it. How did it go? It was Adrian. She typed, I lost. 3 dots. Then, you okay? She looked at the question for a long time. She typed several answers. She deleted them. She typed, come over, please. He came over. He brought Lily. He had not, he would tell her later, planned to bring Lily. He had asked Mrs. Ibarra if she could stay late, and Mrs. Ibarra had looked at him with the flat directness that was her chief quality and had said, Adrian, the girl is 6. She has not stopped asking about that woman for 10 days. If you go to see her today and you do not take the girl with you, I am going to be very disappointed in your judgment. So he brought Lily. Lily had been briefed in the car on the basics. Elena had a broken foot. Elena had had a bad day. Elena was a grown-up who sometimes had bad days. Elena's apartment had rules to no jumping, no yelling, please use inside voice, and Lily had received all of this the way she received anything that she judged to be a distraction from the main event, which was that she was finally, after 11 days of petitioning, going to see Elena again. She was carrying the drawing. She had rolled it up in the car without being asked, and had held it in her lap with both hands, the way another child might hold a kitten. She was wearing her best dress, which was a denim jumper with a sunflower on the pocket, and she had done her own hair, which was a disaster, and which Adrian had not corrected because he had not had the heart. Elena opened the door on the cane. She had changed out of the suit. She was in the gray t-shirt and jeans again, and her hair was down, and her eyes were pink at the edges in a way that only somebody who had been looking for it would have seen. Lily looked up at her, unrolling the drawing as she looked. Your foot is still broken, Lily observed. It is. My dad said you had a bad day. I did. I brought you this. She held up the drawing. Elena took it. She held it with both hands. She looked at it. Adrian watched her look at it, and he watched her face, and he watched the way her mouth went in at the corners, in the particular way of a person who has spent 12 hours not crying and is now being asked to hold a thing she cannot hold. She knelt, carefully, on the good leg, so that she was at Lily's height. Lily. Yeah. This is the best picture anyone has given me in a very long time. I didn't know what the sea cow was supposed to really look like. I think you got it exactly right. My dad said sea cows are called manatees. They are. I'm going to call them sea cows anyway. I think you should. Lily, who had been standing there with her hands behind her back like a small diplomat, suddenly closed the distance and put her arms around Elena's neck. Elena, on her one good knee, on her cane, in her own doorway, held the 6-year-old carefully with both arms, as if she did not entirely trust her body to do it right, and she closed her eyes. Adrian stood in the hallway with a paper bag from a bakery on his corner and looked at the ceiling of the hallway because his eyes were doing a thing he could not do anything about. Okay, Elena said into Lily's hair. Okay. Okay. Why are you crying? I'm not. I can hear you. I'm a little bit. That's okay. Thank you. Grown-ups cry sometimes. They do. My dad cries sometimes. Lily, Adrian said. He does, Dad. Okay. In the bathroom with the fan on. Okay, Lily. I hear you anyway. Elena was laughing now, into Lily's hair, a wet little laugh that was half a laugh and half a thing that was not a laugh. And she looked up at Adrian over Lily's shoulder, and Adrian looked back, and neither of them could find any language for the look that passed between them, so they stopped trying. Come in, Elena said. Both of you, come in. I have nothing to eat. I have water. I have crackers. I have the worst cupboard in Manhattan. I'm sorry. We brought bread, Adrian said, lifting the bag. And Mrs. Ibarra sent empanadas. Who's Mrs. Ibarra? She's my friend, Lily said with authority. She says, pobrecito. Ah. They ate empanadas at the low coffee table in the living room. Elena did not at first sit on the floor. She tried to sit on the couch while Adrian and Lily sat on the floor, and Lily, with the dignity of a person correcting a small injustice, said, Elena, it's a picnic. Picnics are on the floor. I have a broken foot, Lily. Oh. I think I need to sit on the couch for this one. Lily considered this. Lily got up. Lily climbed onto the couch next to Elena. Lily patted the couch on her other side. Adrian, after a second, got up from the floor and sat on Lily's other side. Lily, at 6, seated her father and Elena like a hostess, with her between them, holding half an empanada, and the three of them ate on the couch in an apartment that, for the first time in the 11 years Elena had lived there, had 3 people in it on a Friday afternoon. Lily ate 2 empanadas and then climbed onto Elena's lap, carefully avoiding the bad foot, and fell asleep in 14 minutes, the way 6-year-olds do when the emotional weather of the day has been too much. She slept with her cheek against Elena's shoulder, and one hand curled into the hem of Elena's t-shirt. Elena sat very still. Is this okay? She whispered. It's fine. I don't... Is my arm going to... She's fine. She'll sleep through a fire drill. Okay. Is your ankle okay? It's fine. It's not fine. It's fine, Adrian. Elena. It's fine. Okay? They sat like that for a while, with Lily asleep between them and the afternoon light going orange in the big window, and after a long time, Elena said very quietly, I don't know what to do next. What do you mean? I mean, I walked out of that building today and I don't have a job. I don't have the thing I have done for 11 years. I'm done doing. I don't know what She stopped. She looked down at the top of Lily's head. I don't even know what I like. You like books. I like books. You like that glass with the chip in it. I like that glass. You like this kid. A pause. Yeah, Elena said. Yeah, I like this kid. Elena. Yeah. You're going to be okay. Don't. What? Don't say things that are not... Elena. What? You're going to be okay. That's not a... I'm not being nice. I don't have the... I'm too tired to be nice. You're going to be okay. You are 31. You have, whatever happens, more money than any one person should, probably, legally have. You have a mind that scares people who should be scared. You have a broken foot and a drawing on your coffee table and a kid asleep on your shoulder. You're going to be okay. You just have to do the boring part. The boring part. The boring part where you sit in your apartment for 6 weeks and you let the ankle heal and you don't answer any emails and you read books off the floor and you come eat empanadas at our apartment because Mrs. Ibarra has already told me to bring you over. She has. She has. Mrs. Ibarra has never met me. Mrs. Ibarra saw the video. Mrs. Ibarra has opinions. Mrs. Ibarra said, and I quote, "Bring her. She needs a kitchen." Elena laughed. It was a small, tired laugh. It moved Lily's head against her shoulder, and Elena, without thinking, put her hand on the back of Lily's head and steadied her. "I need a kitchen." "Apparently, I can't cook, Adrian." "That's not the point of Mrs. Ibarra's kitchen." "What's the point of Mrs. Ibarra's kitchen?" "The point of Mrs. Ibarra's kitchen is that you sit at the table and she makes you eat and she tells you what she thinks about everything on the news." Elena was quiet. "Okay," she said after a moment. "Okay." Elena. "Yeah." "Can I?" "Yes." "I didn't say what I was going to ask." "I know." "Okay. Ask anyway." He looked at her. The light was doing something to her hair. Her hand was still on the back of his daughter's head. "Can I come over tomorrow? With Lily? Not for anything. Just, can I come over tomorrow?" "Yes, Adrian." "Okay." "And Sunday?" "Okay." "And whenever you want, for a while." "Okay." "Is that weird?" "No." "I'm not. Don't know what I'm doing. I haven't done this, ever. I don't know how to... Elena. "Yeah. I haven't done this in 4 years, and I wasn't great at it when I was doing it before." "Oh. Yeah. So we're both... Yeah. Okay. Okay." She looked at him over Lily's head. "Adrian. Yeah. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to not make it a big thing." "Okay." "I was at the table today when I was saying your name in that room. The moment before I said it, I was thinking, I am about to tell these men that I broke my own career for a man in a gray t-shirt. And I was waiting for the part of me that thinks things like that to tell me I was being stupid. And she didn't." "Who didn't?" "The part of me that thinks things like that. I have a voice, Adrian, that has kept me alive in rooms like that for 11 years. It has been the loudest voice in my head for a long time. And this afternoon, when I stood up at that table, she didn't say anything. She was quiet, for the first time I can remember." "Elena. I'm not... This isn't... What? This isn't me telling you. I am not... I don't want you to think I'm... Elena. Yeah. Just say it." She looked at him. "I don't want to do this alone anymore," she said. "That's what I'm telling you. I don't want to be the woman in the fortress anymore. I don't have the strength for it. I don't have the... I'm tired, Adrian. I'm so tired." "Okay? Okay." Elena. "Yeah. Me too." They sat there. Lily, between them, shifted in her sleep and said something that sounded like manatee, and then was quiet again. Outside, the light was doing the thing it did in the big window, going from orange to pink to a pale kind of gold, and neither of them moved to turn a light on, because neither of them wanted to disturb the sleeping kid, and neither of them wanted, frankly, to disturb the moment. The phone rang, eventually. Adrian's. He looked at it. It was Leland Finch. "I should take this." "Take it." He took it, quietly, in the kitchen. When he came back, his face was different. "What?" "Leland." I gathered. Leland called to tell me that Paul Braddock was placed on administrative leave 90 minutes ago, pending a full internal review. The firm is going to issue a statement tomorrow morning that explicitly names me as someone who refused to sign a misleading statement and who acted with integrity throughout. He is, quote, "deeply sorry for the position that he and Mr. Gilbride put me in," end quote. Is he now? He also said that given the circumstances and given that the Meridian contract is in fact probably gone, they are offering me a promotion. Elena looked at him. "They are." Yes. A promotion. Yes. To what? Senior associate, partner track, 60% raise. Elena looked at him for a long second. What did you say? I said I'd think about it over the weekend. And what are you thinking? He sat back down on the couch on Lily's side. He took a breath. I'm thinking, he said, that I spent 3 years of my life working for a man who was willing to sell me for a contract. And I'm thinking that a 60% raise from those people feels like being paid not to remember what they tried to do. Adrian? Yeah. Don't take it. I know. Don't take it. I know, Elena. There are better firms. There are better firms that will want you on Monday, specifically because Leland just put out that statement. I know 8 of them. I will make calls. I will make them from this couch on Monday with a broken foot. I know. Don't take it. I'm not going to take it. Okay. Okay. He looked at her. Elena. Yeah. Thank you for... He stopped. For the part where on Monday you didn't tell me about your board. The part you didn't say. Where you knew that if I'd known, I probably would have signed the statement to save you, and I would have been a different person. Forever. You knew that, and you didn't tell me until after. She looked down at Lily. Yeah, she said. Yeah, I knew that. Thank you. Adrian. Yeah. Thank you for not signing it. Okay. I mean it. I mean that. Do you understand? Yeah. If you had signed it, I would have kept my job and I would have known for the rest of my life that the person I kept it being was not the person I thought I was being. I would have walked into that boardroom in 6 months for some other gray area vote, and I would have voted the gray way because I would have already sold it. Yeah. You saved more than your daughter's answer, Adrian. I was just trying to not make my kid a liar's daughter. I know. I didn't know about you. I know, Adrian. That's the whole point. I know. He reached across his sleeping daughter and took her hand. Her hand was warmer this time. They sat there through the last of the light. Sometime after full dark, Lily stirred, mumbled, sat up, looked around with the confused expression of a 6-year-old waking up in an unfamiliar room, focused on Elena and said, Did I sleep on you? You did. Was it okay? It was great. Oh. A pause. Did I drool? A little. Sorry. It's fine. Dad. Yeah, Bug. Can Elena come home with us? Adrian opened his mouth. He closed it. He looked at Elena. Elena looked at the ceiling, the way people do when they're trying very hard not to laugh. Lily, honey, Elena has a home. But she has a broken foot, and she lives alone and nobody is making her dinner. Lily. It's true, Dad. Lily, Elena's foot is fine. She has people. She has... Lily, Elena said gently. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Your dad's right. I have my home here, and I need to stay here for a little while. But... And she looked at Adrian, and Adrian looked back. And something in the look was a question and an answer at the same time. Your dad was going to invite me over for dinner tomorrow, I think. At your house. If I'm not too boring. You're not boring. Thank you, Lily. You fell off a pier. That's not boring. No. Dad says you have a big job. I had a big job, but I don't have it anymore. Lily thought about this. Is that why you were crying? Yes. That's okay. Grown-ups can cry. You said. It's true. Lily. Yeah. I'm going to be okay. I know. How do you know? Lily shrugged, the way 6-year-olds shrug, with her whole shoulders. Because my dad said so. Elena looked at Adrian over her head, and Adrian looked back, and the apartment with the one lamp on, and the books on the floor and the chipped mug on the coffee table, and the 3 people on the couch was, for a moment, the whole of what a life could be. Okay, Elena said. Okay. They left at 9. In the hallway outside her apartment, while Lily was, 3 feet away, examining a small plant that lived on a shelf, Adrian turned at the elevator and looked back. Elena was in her doorway, leaning on the cane, watching them. She raised one hand. He raised one hand back. They did not say anything. Neither of them needed to. In the elevator, going down, Lily, with her hand in his, said, "Dad?" "Yeah, Bug." "Is Elena our friend now?" He thought about the 2 weeks behind them, the pier, the catch, the memo, the couch in Mr. Gilbride's office, the drawing on the fridge, the boardroom he had not seen. Elena's hand on the back of his daughter's head, the moment in the doorway, 10 seconds ago, when she had raised her hand. "Yeah, Bug," he said. "I think she is." "Told you?" "You told me." "So I was right." "Yeah, Lily, you were right." "Dad?" "Yeah." "I love you more than sea cows." "I love you more than sea cows, too." The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. They stepped out into the evening, into a Friday in the city that was loud and bright and ordinary, and they went home. A year went by the way years do when a life is finally being built instead of endured, in small, ordinary pieces that don't feel like anything until you turn around and realize the shape of them. Adrian took a job at a smaller firm, one of the 8 Elena had called about from her couch. The raise was less than what Gilbride had offered, and the hours were better, which was the whole point. He stopped falling asleep with the laptop on his face. Lily noticed before he did. Elena did not go back. The headhunters came, the boards came, the speaking invitations came, and she said no to most of it and yes to a quiet thing. A foundation, small, unflashy, that paid for after-school programs in neighborhoods the city had forgotten about. She ran it out of an office with 2 other people and a coffee maker that made a sound like Adrian's refrigerator. She was, for the first time, bad at her job, in the sense that she did not know what she was doing, and she came home most nights and said so, and Adrian would hand her a glass of water and say, "Yeah, that's what the job is. Nobody knows what they're doing. They just act like they do. That's comforting. It's not supposed to be. It's not." They had fights. Real ones, not movie ones. She had a way of going quiet that wasn't kindness. It was a habit she'd built in boardrooms, and the first time she did it in his kitchen, he said, "Hey, don't do that to me. Talk to me like a person." She'd stared at him for a long second and then said, "I don't know how." And he'd said, "Then we'll figure it out." It took them 3 months of small, awkward conversations at the kitchen table before she stopped going quiet. Some nights she still did. She was 32 now, and a person's habits don't come off like a jacket. He was not either the easy person Lily's drawing had made him look like. He was tired in ways that didn't go away just because somebody was there. He was, about money, quietly stubborn. He would not let Elena pay for things, not at first, not for a long time. And when they finally had the fight about it, she said, "Adrian, it is not charity. It is a life we are building together, and you are being proud in a way that is making us both smaller." And he'd sat on the edge of the bed for a long time without answering, because she was right, and he hated that she was right. Mrs. Ibarra loved Elena on sight. The first Saturday, Elena came over for empanadas on the cane. Mrs. Ibarra took her into the kitchen and showed her how to fold the dough, and Elena, who had never folded a piece of dough in her life, ruined 4 of them, and Mrs. Ibarra laughed at her without cruelty and made her do the 5th one again. Elena, who had fired 200 people in her career, learned to fold an empanada at the age of 31 at a table in a second-floor walk-up, and took the lesson with more grace than she had ever taken anything in a conference room. Lily's drawings got better. The stick figures got proportions. The sea cow got a family. The fridge ran out of room, and Adrian put up a strip of corkboard in the hallway, and then a second one, and by the end of the year, the whole wall was a gallery of the 3 of them in marker and crayon, and once, a medium Lily had invented by gluing dried pasta onto construction paper. The memo story, which had been going to end him, did not end him. The firm's statement had landed the way Leland had said it would, quietly on the right side. People remembered Adrian's name for a few weeks in the wrong way, and then, after the follow-up coverage that named Paul Braddock, in the right way. Paul's review concluded in November. Paul was not in the end charged with anything. Paul was, however, no longer a partner at any firm that anybody respected, and Paul moved to a suburb of a city 3 states away, and Adrian thought about Paul, honestly, maybe twice. The anger had been there, it had been real, and then one morning in March he'd realized it had left him without telling him, the way old furniture leaves a house, and he did not go looking for it. Elena's board never publicly apologized. They didn't have to. The press made its own conclusions. Harold Vester left the country. Elena was asked, at a small panel she did almost a year later, whether she'd do anything differently, and she said into the microphone, "Yes, I'd have left sooner. I was building a fortress for 11 years, and the person I kept out, mostly, was me." The clip went around for a day and a half. She didn't watch it. On a Saturday in August, a year and change after the first one, Adrian drove them back to the beach. The Corolla had finally been replaced, not by anything fancy, a used SUV with working air conditioning and a back seat that fit a booster and a cane and a beach umbrella that had all its ribs. And they drove the hour out in the late afternoon with the windows down for the last stretch, and the air got salty the way it always did. And Lily, in the back, said, "Dad, Dad, Dad," in the exact same voice she'd used a year ago. And Adrian said, "I know, Bug." And Elena, in the passenger seat, said, "What? What are we looking for?" "Sea cows," Lily said, like it was obvious. "Of course," Elena said. They parked in the north lot. They walked past the pier. Elena, who did not wear heels anymore and had not for a year, looked at the pier for a long beat without saying anything. And Adrian, who had learned to read her quiets, did not say anything either. Lily, who had thoughts about the pier, said, "Elena, that's where you fell." "It is. Are you going to fall again?" "I'm going to try not to. Those are the right shoes, though." "Thanks, Lily." They set up on the sand. The umbrella went up. The towels went down. Lily, a 7-year-old now, tall for her age and with opinions about everything, went directly into the surf without asking permission, because she no longer felt she needed to ask permission for the ocean. Adrian watched her go. Elena sat next to him on the towel. She leaned against his shoulder. "Adrian." "Yeah." "I have something to tell you." "Okay. It's not a bad thing." "Okay. It's a thing I've been holding for 3 weeks because I wanted to tell you here." He turned to look at her. She was looking at the water. "Okay. I asked Lily last week when you were at the store. I asked her how she'd feel about it. I wanted to check with her first. I know that maybe I should have asked you first, and I'm sorry, but Elena. I asked her how she'd feel about it if I was around in a more official way. I didn't use the words, I just asked her." "What did she say?" Elena's eyes were wet. She was smiling. It was not a conference room smile, and it was not a photograph smile. It was the smile she did when she was about to laugh and wasn't ready to. She said, "Are you going to be my mom, or are you going to be my friend? Because I have a mom already, in a way we can't see her, and so what I need is a friend and also maybe a second mom." Adrian closed his eyes. She said that. She said that verbatim. I wrote it down in the car. She's 7. She's 7. He pressed his hand over his face. He was laughing and he was crying, just a little, at the same time, the way a person does when a thing that has been too big to hold finally sits down inside them and turns out to be the right size after all. "What did you tell her?" "I told her yes, to both, because I am not qualified to be just one thing." Elena. "Yeah." He took her hand. It was warm, the way it had learned to be over a year of being held. "Yes," he said. "You don't know what I was asking." "Yes, I do." "Adrian." "Yes." "Okay." "Okay." Down at the water, Lily, who had been watching them from the surf with the sideways vigilance of a 7-year-old who misses nothing, threw both arms in the air for reasons of her own, and yelled something that was either "I see a sea cow" or "I knew it," and it didn't matter which. The wind came off the ocean. It was the same wind that had come off it a year ago. It did not feel the same. A year ago, it had felt like something pulling at him, at the corners of his life, at the thin places he had not had time to patch. Tonight it pushed at his back. It moved Elena's hair. It carried the sound of his daughter's voice across 50 yards of sand. Adrian sat on a towel next to the woman he had caught off a pier in a silk blouse a lifetime ago. And he thought, because by then he had learned to let himself think things, which he had not, for a long time, let himself do, that the thing people got wrong about being saved was that they imagined it happening to them. As if somebody else did the saving. As if you fell and a stranger caught you, and that was the whole story. But he had not been saved, and neither had she. What had happened, he thought, was smaller than that and bigger than that. What had happened was that a woman in the wrong shoes and a man in a gray t-shirt had both, on the same Saturday, been asked a plain question by their own lives. Are you going to keep doing it this way? And had both, because of a kid and a peer and some accident of weather, finally said no. And then they had both spent a year, not being rescued, but learning the small, unromantic daily work of letting another person into a life that had been built, in both cases, for one. The lesson, if there was one, was not about fate or luck or being in the right place. The lesson was that the people who get to have a life like this one are the ones who, when the thing comes, do not sign the paper, who refuse the easy version, who lose the job and tell the truth and hold the drawing and let the other person see them crying in the doorway with a cane. You do not get saved. You get a chance, and then you do the boring, terrifying, ordinary work of not wasting it. Lily came running up the sand, wet and triumphant, and holding a piece of shell that she had decided was important. Dad? Yeah, Bug. Elena. Yeah, Lily. I love you both more than sea cows. We love you more than sea cows, too, they said at the same time, and they looked at each other, and they laughed, because they had not practiced it, and it had come out together anyway. The sun went down. They packed up the towels. They walked back across the sand. 3 people, 1 cane, a 7-year-old with a shell, a man whose lip had healed clean a long time ago, and a woman who did not, anymore, need to be asked how she was. And they got in the car, and they drove home. Not away from anything. Toward it,